And now we turn to the presentation of the Fitzwater Medallion for Leadership in Public Communication. Following the presentation of the citation and medallion, Theo Spanos-Dunphy will deliver the 2025 Medallion Lecture. But first, a special message from a dear friend of the Fitzwater Center who is watching via live stream, Sean O'Kane, President of Global Citizen Circle's Board of Directors and a former member of the Franklin Pierce University Board of Trustees. Although I am unable to be with you in person tonight, it is with great admiration and deep respect that I join in celebrating Theo Spanos-Dunphy as the recipient of the prestigious Fitzwater Medallion for Leadership in Public Communication. There could not be a more fitting recipient than Theo, who has dedicated her life to advancing democracy and fostering global dialogue. Theo's remarkable journey includes her work with the Global Citizen Circle, the World Paper, the World Affairs Council of Maine, and her time as Director of Community Programs at the University of New England's Office of Citizenship and Civic Engagement. She has touched countless lives and instilled in each person she works with, whether an emerging leader or a Nobel laureate, a deep sense of confidence, trust, and respect. In every encounter, Theo exemplifies the leadership quality that we too often overlook: kindness. It is a rare trait that disarms others, builds authentic relationships, and draws out the best in everyone she meets. I have had the privilege of working alongside Theo, collaborating to expand GCC's board and global advisory team to create curricula that will enrich the lives of students across the state, and above all, to emphasize the need for an organization that bridges divides and builds connections across the world. In everything she does, Theo leads with integrity and a deep sense of purpose, always striving to ensure that the work of our collective efforts impacts the world in meaningful ways. From the entire team of directors and global advisors, we are immensely proud of you, Theo. Your leadership exemplifies the extraordinary vision and dedication that has been at the heart of the Dunphy and, by extension, the GCC family for more than 50 years. It is through your inspiration, commitment, and tireless efforts that we all continue to strive to be better. I am honored to be your friend, Theo, and to work alongside you. Your positive impact on the world is measured by the respect you foster in all of us. I know I speak for the whole GCC team when I say that your legacy of kindness and embodiment of global citizenship as an ethic of care for the world is one that sets you apart and inspires all those you come in contact with. I'll be drinking a cold beer for you tonight. Congratulations, Theo. And now, if Theo could join Dr. Eden, or again, musical chairs. This is this is for Provost to give. Okay.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay. It is my privilege to introduce the honoree for the 2025 Fitzwater Medallion for Leadership in Public Communication. This medallion is awarded annually to an individual who has consistently demonstrated through contributions to the public discourse a commitment to the same ideals that drive the Fitzwater Center. These ideals are based on an unwavering belief that robust debate and informed participation are the hallmarks of a healthy democracy and global community. Theo Spanos-Dunphy, global citizen conversationalist, convener. For decades, Theo has embodied the belief that strength lies in unity and progress is driven by fostering an environment of inclusiveness and civil dialogue. Dunphy graduated magna cum laude from Brown University with a degree in international relations and French civilization. 4 years later, She graduated from the Fletcher School at Tufts University with a Master of Arts in Law and Diplomacy. Dunphy spent the first 4 years of her career bringing together native country journalists and editors, government representatives, and NGO leaders to share perspectives on critical global issues. She took that formative experience to the World Affairs Council of Maine, where she focused on engaging business, educational, and professional communities. After 5 years, she moved to Global Citizens Circle, serving as managing director for 9 years. In 2017, after almost a decade teaching and leading community programs at the University of New England, Dunphy was named president and executive director of Global Citizens Circle. In its 51st year, Global Citizens Circle is celebrated internationally for fostering diversity, discussion, and constructive change by convening what it describes as radically civil, courageous conversations that stimulate meaningful and enduring resolution of our world's most pressing concerns. Ordinary citizens and emerging leaders from diverse backgrounds are invited into circles, which are framed as safe places to share stories, inspire hope, and empower participants to action. Their foci are wide-ranging, including such pressing social issues as race relations in the U.S., climate justice, defending democracy, the AIDS pandemic, China's labor camps, and women's rights. In October 2024, Ms. Dunphy led a Citizens Circle delegation to the Constellating Peace 2.0 conference in Sierra Leone to work, as she described it, alongside place-based peacekeepers from Nepal, Colombia, Ethiopia, and beyond, while also gaining invaluable insights from Fambul Tok's 15-year legacy of peace building in Sierra Leone. Now, because she is a radically civil, courageous conversationalist, because she has made a lifelong commitment to convening and empowering pathways to positive engagement, and because she is an international leader in preparing future generations of global citizens, Franklin Pierce University is proud to present the Fitzwater Medallion for Leadership in Public Communication to Theo Spanos Dunphy.
Well, I didn't expect such an introduction. My goodness, got my whole life there. I want to thank everyone for being here, and thank you to Franklin Pierce University for this honor. It's really humbling, truly. And before I begin with what I had prepared remarks. I actually prepared them several months ago when we thought this event was going to be in February. I want to first acknowledge how much everything has changed and continues to change every day since then. Changes that I believe are leading our country into unknown and frankly frightening territory in terms of our democracy, freedom of speech, and civil discourse. I'm not going to address these issues directly. We hear about them everywhere, all the time, from historians, political pundits, journalists, and other so-called experts. Today, I'd like to speak to you about being a generalist, and I hope it will resonate with you as we all think about how we're going to navigate these troubled times. But I have to ask myself, how did I end up here accepting an award for communication? You see, I was this very shy little girl from Claremont, New Hampshire, who relied on her sister, who's sitting here in the audience, to speak for me. If someone asked me what my name was and how old I was, she said, her name is Theo, and she's 5. I'm Cass, and I'm 6. I probably let this dynamic go on much too long, but that's a story for another time, and probably for a therapist to hear. The irony isn't lost on me. that I'm receiving the Fitzwater Medallion for Leadership in Public Communication. But let me say what an honor it is to have been chosen for this award. I want to thank Sean O'Kane, Chair of the Board of Global Citizen Circle and former trustee here at Franklin Pierce University, for first introducing me to the amazing Kristen Nevius, Director of the Fitzwater Center, who then introduced me to the very generous Christina Cliff, Associate Professor of Political Science and Security Studies. Together, along with Phoebe Delarabidi, Assistant Director of Global Citizen Circle, we worked on a series of critical issue discussion guides to accompany edited videos of Circle programs on topics such as monuments and their power to unite and to divide, the hard realities of police reform, as well as healing divisions and finding our common humanity. Neither Kristen nor Christina ever asked for anything in return, but gave us the confidence and the skills to begin a project that would allow hard but critical conversations to continue beyond our 90-minute programs, making them available to a much wider public audience. For their help and friendship, I'm most grateful. And let me also thank Marlon Fitzwater, whose prescience to found the Fitzwater Center to, quote, prepare students for the responsibilities of inspired leadership and service in vibrant public discourse, end quote, is a lasting gift to Franklin Pierce University, to its students and scholars, and to the state of New Hampshire. As a native New Hampshireite, and someone whose career began just about the same time that Mr. Fitzwater was establishing himself as a leader in political communications, I remember him well, and I'd like to think that his passion for presidential politics was in the crisp New Hampshire air when I returned to Claremont after college for my first real job in a presidential primary campaign in 1983. It was just prior to this that my story of being a generalist really starts. I went to college and studied international affairs, which was really a mix of courses in political science, economics, history, and anthropology, among others. And these weren't the kinds of courses, except for maybe history, that I had learned about at Stevens High School in Claremont. I needed to know something about all of them before I could decide what I really wanted to delve into. 4 years later, when I graduated, I realized I wasn't an expert in any one discipline, though I felt I'd had a well-rounded education and that I enjoyed learning a little bit about a lot of topics. So what else could I do but go home and work on a presidential campaign and use my broad knowledge to help organize and persuade people to support my candidate? Of course, that was a little challenging too, because I still had those shy tendencies, and making cold calls to potential voters was something I really had to get used to and grow into. Though my candidate, astronaut and Senator John Glenn, lost in the New Hampshire primary, I had found my voice, if not a particular expertise. Continuing a bit longer in New Hampshire politics, I worked on a gubernatorial campaign before I decided to go back to studying international affairs. This time I thought, I'll come out with a master's degree that would convey on me a sense of expertise. I got a master's in law and diplomacy from the Fletcher School at Tufts. That sounds pretty expert, don't you think? Well, guess what? I'm neither a diplomat nor a lawyer, nor have I ever been. Why that's the name of the degree, I'm not sure, because Fletcher is a school that distinguishes itself on turning out generalists. I had to pick 3 fields of study, not one concentration, and I chose international development, US diplomatic history, and international communications. Again, just as I had as an undergrad, I learned a little about a lot. And no, I'm not diminishing that. I'm actually getting to my point. And that is that by being a generalist, it offers unique strengths in communication by fostering adaptability, empathy, and the ability to connect ideas across disciplines, with storytelling as a key tool. So why did I feel, and to be honest, still sometimes feel, that I should be an expert in something? I believe there's a societal pressure to specialize. Society often equates expertise with authority. We live in a world that celebrates specialists. Think about it. Doctors, scientists, engineers, they're revered for their deep expertise. But with specialization comes a challenge: communication. Specialists often fall into that expert blind spots, using jargon and focusing so narrowly on their field that they struggle to connect with others outside their domain. I've felt this firsthand in conversations with specialists. I've sometimes been overlooked because I didn't have a single label, like data analyst, yikes, or Middle East expert. Yet, what I've learned is that this lack of a defined niche allows me to see things from multiple perspectives. And here's the problem with hyper-specialization. When we don't communicate effectively, we limit innovation, collaboration, and progress. That's where generalists step in. Being a generalist means being adaptable, empathetic, and able to see the bigger picture. First, adaptability. Generalists excel at translating complex ideas to diverse audiences. For instance, I once explained what it means to be a global citizen to a group of emerging leaders by comparing it to a conversation at a Global Citizen Circle program. I explained how open and honest discussions, even when they're about hard topics, and that's really what Global Citizen Circle is all about, help everyone to understand our shared humanity. It isn't just about simplifying, it's about making information relatable. Second, empathy. When you've dabbled in multiple fields, you start to understand the challenges and perspectives of different groups. This makes you a bridge builder. I've worked to bring people of differing backgrounds, races, religions, and opinions together for respectful dialogue that advances solutions to problems that are sometimes seemingly intractable. By reframing their disagreements as dialogue rather than debate, I've helped people find common ground. Finally, big picture thinking. Specialists dive deep, but generalists connect the dots. We see patterns, relationships, and opportunities that others might miss. This broader perspective makes conversations richer and more dynamic. It also helps us form relationships and identify partnerships that provide give and take and benefit all. Here's where the storytelling comes in. Stories are universal. They break down barriers and make abstract concepts relatable. As generalists, we're uniquely positioned to craft multidimensional stories because we draw on diverse experiences. For example, I've had the privilege through Global Citizen Circle to meet and converse with world leaders, local activists, and emerging leaders from all over and from all different sectors. And when I tell others about these interactions, I'm able to speak about them on a human level because I've listened to their stories even more than to their expertise. And this allows others to understand the shared humanity that doesn't put one person above another. Stories don't just explain, they inspire. And for generalists, they're a way to translate the value of our diverse knowledge into something that resonates with everyone. This is why when we begin a Global Citizen Circle program, we always ask our discussion leaders to start with a personal story on the topic that we're dealing with. And it may be, why did you get involved in this issue? Or what has kept you going even when you thought you needed or wanted to quit? It's through these kinds of questions that we hear answers that are relatable and have the power to inspire others. Of course, being a generalist isn't always easy. Sometimes I've felt like an outsider in conversations dominated by specialists. I've struggled with imposter syndrome, questioning whether I'm enough without defined expertise. But here's what I've learned. Being a generalist is not about knowing everything. It's about being curious, adaptable, and willing to learn. It's about asking the right questions, connecting people, and telling and listening to stories that bridge gaps. The reward? Seeing people collaborate in ways they couldn't before. Watching ideas flourish because you helped connect the dots. That's the magic of being a generalist. Let me leave you with one final story. I never imagined, as that shy little girl from a mill town in New Hampshire, that I'd travel the world and in so doing have opportunities to impact positive change. I never thought I would be able to help a young Afghan woman to leave Afghanistan to come to the US, where she could get the education she wasn't allowed in her country. I couldn't imagine I'd meet a young Syrian peace builder who traveled with me to the west coast of Africa this past October for a peace conference and was so inspired to learn more about Africa that he's hoping to do a master's program in African studies so that he can use lessons that he learned from that continent to help him make change in his own war-torn country. And I wouldn't have imagined that I would ever feel confident enough to share lunch and conversation with a human rights lawyer and Nobel Peace Laureate from Ukraine. But those are all things that I've done in just the past few years. How did it happen? Well, I've used my knowledge and curiosity as a generalist. So my message is this: don't underestimate the power of being a generalist. Embrace your unique ability to connect dots, people, and disciplines. Use storytelling to bridge divides and inspire action. We may not be experts in one thing, but we're experts in weaving the threads of our experiences into stories that inspire, connect, and transform. And in a world that is clearly struggling to communicate in ways that bring out the best of humanity, that might just be the most valuable expertise of all. Thank you.